I passed my life in the UK test without reading a book or attending some form of tutorial or even having a prior knowledge of the UK history and culture. And in this video, I'm going to show you how I did this by preparing for my exams in 5 days. I booked for my exam on a Tuesday for a Saturday exam, so that's basically 5 days. In this video, I'm going to be giving you some tips to help you prepare for this exam. Hello guys, I'm Sheila, YouTuber based in the UK, and I'm here to give you tips on how you can pass your life in the UK test. What is the life in the UK test? I'm sure some people will be wondering that. If you're not living in the UK or you don't know about the UK citizenship process, life in the UK test is one of those tests that you have to write in order to apply for UK citizenship, and it is based on the UK culture, history, religion, sports, nature. It encompasses a lot about the British culture. So your ability to show knowledge about the UK culture and everything regarding the UK, then you'll be able to pass this exam and as well be able to apply for your UK citizenship. So my first tip is you should understand the basics of this exam, just as any exam you're going to write. You should have a good understanding of this exam. So you have to apply via ukgov.ng. Then you also need to know how much it costs. It costs about £60, and the exam is a multiple choice exam consisting of 24 questions, and this exam lasts for like 40 minutes. And this is such an easy exam. I was able to finish in 5 minutes, and I was also able to pass this exam. But at least just know that you have 40 minutes, which allocates you to about 2 minutes for each question. It's important to note that this exam is valid forever. So once you write it and you pass it, it covers you forever. Tip number 2, practice, practice, practice. There are many resources floating online that you do not need. Actually, a lot of books floating on, you do not need them. I'm going to be putting a link in my description, and you can go through the free questions there. It's like 15 questions, but there's this other one that has 17 questions. I'm so sorry I couldn't find the link, but you can ask around and find that. But for the meantime, you can use the one of the in my description. It's still the same thing, just that it's not complete. I couldn't find a complete one. So that one was just enough for it. So you just need to go over it again and again and again. I went over it like 5 times. On the day I applied for it, which was on a Tuesday, I went over it. The next day, which is Wednesday, I went over it. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So basically, Saturday I wrote the exam. So on my way to the exam, I went over the 17 tests. And yeah, that's how I was able to prepare for it in 5 days. Tip number 3 is that at the beginning of prepping for this exam, a lot of things are going to sound strange to you because you're not British. So it's quite natural you don't know those questions. I would advise that you keep answering the questions. Don't feel discouraged. Don't feel like you need to research before you answer. No, just answer whatever that comes to your mind, and you're going to fail it. But by the time you're getting to test 10, you will find yourself getting some questions because some of them are repetitive. So you find yourself getting some questions. And by the time you come for the second time, you're good. Tip number 4, there are many dates in the practice. So always try to write down the dates. At least that's what worked for me. If that, you might want to try that out and see if it works for you. So I had my jotter where I wrote down lots of dates. I had to write down the dates because dates are quite easy to forget. So before I went into the exam hall, I just had a second look at it or final look at it before I went into the exam hall. So you might want to try that. Another tip that helped me, still on tip number 4, was that I found a way to connect the dates to real life events in my life. If a date rhymed with something that happened in my life or someone's birthday, I found a way to connect the two, and that way it was very easy for me to remember. Tip number 5 is that you should always practice the act of recalling the questions. Before I wrote my exams, I remember then I tried to recall the questions, I tried to discuss it. If you don't have anyone living with you, if you don't have anyone around you, you can do that in the mirror. Ask yourself the questions and answer. That way you tend to remember and retain. My final tip is this: try as much as possible to sleep well the night before your exam, so that way you feel refreshed. Also, try to eat and drink, stay hydrated. That way you feel refreshed and your brain is able to recall all that you've read. I hope these tips are going to help you in your exams. At least it did, and it worked for me. And I prepped for my exams in 5 days and I passed my exams. So you might want to try that out, and always keep in mind this is an easy exam, so you have no reason to be afraid. Okay? Have a nice day, and I hope to see you next time. Bye. But if I lay down and I play down